The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
It's authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again.
They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again.
And watch, please, those mail-in ballots.
We will make America safe again.
And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed.
They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you.
If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. I'm John Herold, one of your co-hosts. I'm joined by my other co-host, Burning Bright. I tried switching up today and it didn't sound as good. So I'm going to go back to,
man, that was weird.
As always, and unfortunately, I'm joined by Burning Bright. What's up, man?
Man, rugged us with the no intro like a month ago, and now just discombobulating me. Yeah,
just trying to spice things up.
Yeah, I get it.
I got to tell everybody what you said pre-show. It was so funny. He's like,
yeah, go for it.
I'm asking like, hey, what's going on? He's like, oh, me and my dad are just destroying my bathroom. And then he goes on to like tell me another story. And I'm like, wait, what? Because the way he said it was, I just thought they both had like some Taco Bell and couldn't get out of the bathroom. But apparently you're renovating it.
Yeah, the two are not mutually exclusive. So I don't want to, I don't want to spread misinformation. But yeah, we are partially demoing a bathroom. Mrs. Bright and Toddler Bright are up in Canada. I don't think Canada should know that because it's getting a little hairy up there. I even sent Mrs. Bright an article earlier about the Canadian government now allegedly threatening to sue Canadian citizens for social media posts if they're critical of the government in the wrong way. So we're getting like pretty crazy up there. So I was like, watch what you're posting when you're up there. But yeah, while she's up there, I'm destroying the bathroom and then renovating the bathroom. And by renovating the bathroom, I mean my dad, who knows how to do actual stuff, is doing all that stuff and then being like, pick up all these things, throw them in my truck and get rid of them and get out of my sight.
So he's doing all the work.
Yeah, I'm picking stuff up and moving it around. I'm a laborer. I'm a white laborer.
Probably very
And not only am I not being paid, I am paying for my own labor.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a little backwards, it seems. But hey,
There's a Mexican when you need one.
That's okay. Whenever I do like projects like that with my dad, we like step on each other's toes because we're both pretty stubborn. He's way more handy than I am, but I like to think I'm pretty handy. And so like I have an idea of how I think something should be done, and he has an idea, and then there's just like tension. And so now he just like whenever he's over, he just does things. But I never invite him over for like actual projects. I don't really have any projects to do anyway. But yeah.
My house is weird because it's like this master bathroom that there was this whole corner of the room, like a third of the bathroom, taken up by this big jacuzzi tub. And it had like this wooden custom frame built around it by the previous owners. The guy was a steel worker, so it had like a steel bar. But they never hooked the hot tub up to power. The jacuzzi tub. What did you
call it?
Jacuzzi tub.
You called it
like a jacuzzi bathtub.
You called it a hot tub.
What?
You said a hot tub really weird.
Did I? A hot
tub? I feel like you did.
I was going to say jacuzzi or hot tub, so I don't know.
You just did it again. What are you saying? Say hot tub. Say hot tub.
Hot tub?
Okay, now you didn't say that. You said two times in a row.
Jacuzzi first? A jacuzzi or a hot tub?
I feel like you're saying that weird, but whatever. Right. We can move past those.
And anyway, so it never worked. It was a big jacuzzi tub that functioned as a tub. You could put hot water in it. But none of the bubbles worked. None of the jets worked. So they would all get all grimy and gross. And then Mrs. Bright's leaning over this like foot wide gap between the edge to give toddler bright baths. So we tore that whole thing out today. And underneath it, my dad's like, they've got wiring in the walls and never did anything. You know, you just take a house apart sometimes and you're like, what were you guys doing? What was the plan? So we're, they spent a lot of time building this big, nice custom jacuzzi tub area, and we just destroyed it. And they're going to replace it with a regular tub area, which will give us like half the space of the bathroom back for activities.
Interesting. That's awesome. So you say you have a master bathroom. Do you also have a slave quarters?
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't talk about the slave quarters, but they are on the property, but not attached to the main dwelling for obvious reasons.
Of course.
So, you know, that doesn't need to be renovated. They're fine.
Are you going to give them the thrown out jacuzzi hot tub, or however you said it?
Yeah, my dad cut it into like 6 different pieces.
Oh,
I go up there, and my bedroom I'm just like, oh, how's it going? He's like, pretty good. I got the hot tub out. I'm like, you shouldn't have moved it without me. He's like, yeah, I wasn't going to call you up here to help me. So I sawed it into 6 pieces. The pieces are right there.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. That's why it was so loud.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Like, where's Alpha when you need him? Got that big, strong back. A wet back, you might even say.
Is he that strong though? I feel like it's a little deceptive.
Maybe not.
You know, but anyway.
He doesn't have that small white Irish boy strength.
Whatever. Oh, let's see here. Final man, hear of anyone having issues with Rumble processing payments for subs? If you guys are
Somebody
having
said that the other day. Someone said that in my chat the other day. I don't know if it was about subs or if it was about rants.
You should explain that issue in more detail, and I will run it up the food. I actually have a call with Rumble here later this week, so I will address that with them.
Right.
Any other thoughts you guys have on Rumble? Let me know.
I like this. Lou's Grammy said, Burning Bright, might I suggest Squire Bright for your son? I like that.
I like that too.
I like that because he's no longer Baby Bright, which just rolled off the tongue, but Toddler Bright just doesn't quite work.
Know what I suggest? So when my girlfriend moved in, she brought her cat with. Oh, yeah. And so we have a cat now. Artsy Joan in the chat drew a picture of the cat, and I feel like if you are comfortable with it, you should have Artsy Joan draw a picture of Squire Bright, because it'd be hilarious. And also, look at that thing. Look how good that is. It's a painting. And so like that was based on a real picture.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So good. I saw her in the chat. I had to give her a shout out.
I'm told Squire Bright was running the plane today. It's just his third round trip at 18 months old. Not to Canada, but just on a plane in general.
Yeah,
which is pretty
it's a lot of
impressive.
flying.
Yeah,
that's why she couldn't go to Gart, Miss Bright.
Yeah.
Too much traveling.
Choosing Canada. So we'll see if she comes back. Yes, the other day she was like having me sign papers in case she got stuck at customs. And I was like, should I read these closely? Like, what are you doing with my kid? Why do I have to sign all these papers? She's like, no, don't worry about it. So, I mean, hopefully he comes back.
Yeah, hopefully they weren't divorce papers.
Yeah, I just signed a divorce and signed my kid over. We'll see.
Wow, we're getting a lot of people in the chat saying that they have issues with
you guys all having Rumble issues?
Rumble processing payments. That's a bummer.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. I'll run those up the food chain. So I appreciate you guys.
In the meantime, if you guys do want to support us in a place that I do not think has trouble processing payments, it's Badlands itself. Go to the Boost section.
Or the Substack also works.
Yeah.
But yeah, weird week
Very
in
weird.
terms of news. Like, Trump was, obviously this last week was the 4th of July weekend, which was an awesome weekend. I had Ty and JC here running amok in the Dakotas for a while. It was really cool having them down for the 4th. The kids loved them, wanted to come back. So hopefully they'll do that. And you guys still got to come up here at some point. But anyway, besides that, coming off of that weekend, I kind of expected there to be not much to talk about. And so on Monday on my show, I was like, kind of a slow news week, but we're going to talk about, I don't even remember. Oh, we talked about DOGE because DOGE ended. And I put out a post like, hey guys, DOGE ended. They only claim to have saved $215 billion. How do you guys feel about that? Well, oh, by the way, our budget's like, our deficit's still going up. We spent more than whatever, like just all facts. And then people like weirdly push back on that. They got so defensive of DOGE. So that's like all I talk about Monday because there's nothing else to talk about. Yesterday, Tuesday, my show was only like 40 minutes long. And most of it was just like hanging with the chat talking because, again, there wasn't much exciting stuff to go to talk about. And for me, like, exciting stuff is not like the Tyler Robinson trial.
Yeah.
I can't.
There's news. It's just about what we're interested in specifically is not cooking.
Yeah, like the Tyler Robinson stuff, I can't get into it. I think it's all drama. It's all like a bunch of outrage. I think CanCon, I saw post something about like some sort of tribalism. I can't remember the phrase he said he coined, but it's also stupid. I just can't find myself getting interested in it. So I'm not interested in that. And Trump was at NATO. And there's a couple interesting clips we'll probably play and talk about today, but it's just, there's like this weird lull. We haven't got any of the D class we were told were coming soon. So that's on the horizon, but we don't know when. Just a weird week of news. Oh,
yeah,
but war's back on the table.
Yeah, I mean, that, like, we can get into that a little bit, but even that is funny because there's I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's a saying in financial markets, apparently, sell in May and go away. And this is why, when you're looking at historical, these patterns are breaking a little bit in the digital internet mimetic age, but typically, July and August are bad times. June, July, and August are bad times for stocks. Doesn't mean stocks crash in those months, but there's not much volatility, and obviously traders like volatility. And like the reason, it's kind of funny because sometimes the reason for these things is more mundane than we would like to admit. And, I can transition this into the info war, but in the financial market world, all those people who kind of come up in the financial markets and that's how they make their careers and they're experts, they're always looking for this tiny little bit of arbitrage, right? Like if you're 2% better at trading than the average, you're a valuable kind of person. Maybe you can run a fund or something like that. And these guys are always looking for patterns of how can I exploit the summer doldrums, and why do the summer doldrums arrive? Why is there this cyclical pattern? And one of the simplest answers is the least sexy, which is that all the hedge fund people go to the Hamptons and Cape Cod and they go on vacation. So they just are not moving money around because they're on vacation. So sell in May, go away. And that's why. But then it becomes this interesting self-fulfilling prophecy where I don't know when the sell in May, go away quote came out. Maybe somebody in chat knows that. I don't know who said that, and I don't know when that became like a perpetual thing. But then you got to wonder, was this a trend? But then it became a rule because everybody in financial markets started reacting to the rule. And now it's kind of known, hey, hold on to your cash reserves if you don't have a trade to make. Hold on to that if you don't find a trade by the end of May. Because nothing's going to be active, you're not going to find a lot of liquidity. So it's become this self-fulfilling prophecy now where like financial markets kind of take the summer off and then they go crazy up or down in the fall. It feels a little bit like that. The reason I thought of that is because you mentioned, last week with the 250th and just great vibes, and it's kind of cool to see a lot of that. People are tired in a good way, I think, after last week of celebrations with their families and everything. And this week in the info war and in the news cycle almost feels like, even with the Iran thing, I'm like, are you guys trolling and just being like, listen, we're not going to spin up any new major cycles right now because everybody's on vacation. So we're just going to do the Iran war again for a couple of weeks. I mean, I would joke, but the way things are, none of that would surprise me.
No, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me either, but that is what it feels like. Well, first of all, I was told that, what is it, July is typically a hot month, or August or whatever.
August is a hot month, yes, even though July is technically hotter, so.
Is it though? I think it like shifts, isn't it? Like July is hotter in like the Midwest, and then August is hotter in the East, and then on the West Coast it's September or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, it seems like there is it's a lot of reruns. If the bombing that was taking place right now had happened like 2-3 months ago, whenever the war started, it'd be like major headline news. But it's not. Even the NATO stuff, like, Trump is mad at NATO. Trump is going at it alone now. Trump like turns back to NATO. NATO upset. Like NATO's gonna have to do it alone. Like
before.
Trump's trying to withdraw. We went through that entire storyline back when Trump's national security strategy came out, and before that, the Zelensky storyline. Trump's gonna let them, do more, make their own missiles or something. But the war's still going on. The war hasn't changed. We've hardly had a single narrative change in that in forever. There's just like no new interesting narratives. We could talk about DOGE because I think there's an interesting behavior that I kind of hit on Monday that we could get into. I don't even know. Even that is like, I feel like we've talked about that. I did talk about it Monday, but maybe it'd be good discussion with you and I.
Even the Zelensky Russia thing is funny because I didn't say that this time, but last year I had pointed out one of the patterns I'd noticed is, there is still stuff to talk about from a narrative warfare perspective and a fiction warfare perspective, because I think sometimes these patterns are repeating, and the fact that we can see them coming, we meaning, this audience can see them coming, is itself. I mean, the fact that nobody's reacting, nobody in this space is really reacting to super serious extra, the most serious version of the Iran war that's happened yet, I believe, is happening right now. Everyone's like, okay, I mean, I guess, fine, whatever, man. You do you. I think that in and of itself is a sign of leveling up. I think sometimes when this audience is bored by major narratives, according to the mainstream, and even according to Trump himself, it's a sign that they've kind of graduated beyond reacting. A few months ago when we got the same sort of headlines that were less bombastic, no pun intended, about Iran, that were not even as escalatory as Trump was over the last 24 hours, a lot of people, even in the so-called truth community, were freaking out. And now there's very few people who are freaking out. I feel like the people that do the, sirens and the millions exclamation marks on X, they've been doing that since February, and they're doing that today too. And to a smaller and smaller real audience. How many times can Benny Johnson say, oh my God, Trump is really good taking out the regime this time? So I don't know, maybe sometimes when you're looking at this, you, the general you, and watching the show are like, ah, man, what's going on? This is the same shit over and over again. This is a discombobulator. I think that's that skill observation chart I reference every so often. That means that you are just seeing things in a different way, and you're looking for new information. You're looking for new patterns to map because you've already mapped all this stuff. But obviously there's a lot of people who have not. The Iran, the other point I was going to make is that the Russia situation, last year I had said, every time Trump has a super positive phone call with either Putin or Xi, typically the week later, 1 or 2 weeks later, there's major escalation in the narrative with that exact party. And we were told, I think on July 5th or 6th, that on July 4th, Trump had a great phone call with Putin about their mutual victories and all this kind of stuff. And then a few days later, Trump goes to Turkey and not only supposedly is, promising all these things to Ukraine, but he verbally praised their strikes in Russian territory. So it's just a little bit silly. I think a lot of this stuff is telegraphed.
Yeah, literally every time Trump is about to meet with Zelensky, he has a phone call with Putin. He always talks to Putin first, which I think is notable. But yeah, and I think at least one thing I'm not willing to do, and I think we've proven we're not willing to do, is like just decode boring stuff that we've already decoded 100 times just to make the news cycle interesting. If the news cycle is not interesting, I'm not gonna like make stuff up just to make it interesting, just to sell ourselves. But I do think somebody's onto something here. Before we get in, we'll talk Doge a little bit. We got to get to our sponsors. But Fat Chance says Badlands Task Force test with a $5 rant. Maybe more of you guys need to test if your rants are working. We're trying to, because clearly there's a few people who are having issues. We should try to see how widespread that issue is. Maybe everybody that's watching, 2,200 and growing of you, can do a test and let us know if your rant features are working. So we have a good, data set to go to Rumble with. But mostly joking. We also have R Scriv. How about Brilliant Cub, Cubby Bright, just not burning cub? I like it. Thank you for
Yeah,
the rant.
I got a picture of him from Mrs. Bright when he was before the plane took off. He's in the back with the stewardesses.
Nice.
Like just standing in the back, just walks right back there. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." They're like, "No, he's fine. He's just hanging out, talking to us."
That's awesome.
So he's the king of the roost. What did they call that? Is that a thing? I don't know.
That doesn't sound like a thing, but okay. Let's get a quick word from our one of our sponsors at least, and then we'll start the conversation off with Doge, and then see where the show takes us. And first up, we have Love Litters. Tired of heavy, dusty, smelly cat litter that tracks everywhere and fills your house with odor? Discover Love Litters, the long-lasting wood-based litter made from pure kiln-dried wood with no chemicals or additives. It's eco-friendly, repurposing wood that would otherwise go to the landfill. Here's why it's so great. It completely neutralizes cat urine odor. You just scoop the solids daily, flush them, and the urine simply evaporates with zero smell. A single 45-pound box can last one cat 6 to 9 months when used at about an inch deep. It turns into fine sawdust over time, so there's minimal tracking and less mess to clean. And if you have birds, Love Litters is aggressively absorbent. It dries droppings instantly to prevent mold and dissolves harmlessly if your bird nibbles it. Plus, it works wonderfully for ferrets, rabbits, reptiles, and more. Customers who switch from clay litter say they'll never go back, loving the fresh pine scent, ease of use, and how clean their homes stay. Ready to kick the clay habit for good? Head to badlandsmedia.tv/litter for free shipping and try Love Litters. Your pets and your nose will thank you. That's badlandsmedia.tv/litter. And, he sent us a couple bags of that, and we were going to make the switch after Deadwood. And by we, I mean my girlfriend, who's responsible for the litter box. That was a condition of her moving in, is me never having to go near it or touch it or do anything with it. And so I'm going to have to hold her accountable and make sure she test that product out this week.
Right now, do you guys use like the ammonia type, like the traditional cat litter that smells like chemically?
I don't think the brand is ammonia type, but I think you would call it traditional.
Yeah, because I made that switch several years ago and now use Love Litters, and it does make a massive difference. Just telling people, it doesn't smell unless you don't clean it ever.
Because I can definitely tell when I walk by the bathroom or like the laundry room where the cat litter is. That what I can tell when there's poop in there.
Yeah.
So
is your girlfriend pooping in there?
It could be my girlfriend. Holy cow, we had a bunch of people. I was sarcastically telling people to test the rant feature.
I don't know if it's working.
Doesn't seem to be working. There's a few of them I was
positive.
expecting that I haven't seen yet. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Not positive. Man,
okay, let's talk
psyop people every show.
we hear there's a massive rant outage.
We're not sure if the US dollar is working right now. We need to run some tests.
Oh, funny. Okay, so this I thought was really super devolution-y, actually, before we even get into the Doge thing. I want to get your take on it. Arsonist cuts off penis, then uses it to start a blaze in neighbor's garage. What's your take, BB?
Let me get a second. His own penis or her own penis? It could
his
be
own penis.
That's what it reads as. Uses it to start a blaze. Huh.
Okay. So he cut off his penis, put gasoline on it, lit it on fire.
They skipped that part. I was going to say you need some sort of accelerant.
Yeah.
You can't just light a freshly chopped huang on fire.
I mean, you could. It might take a while to catch fire. I mean, I guess it depends where it's been. You never know where it's been. You never know how flammable it could be. But his arson plan was a bunch of junk. This seems like a fake story to me. But
my brother, by the way, I was told today by my dad, saved his building from a fire a couple days ago.
Was it an arsonist who lit his penis on fire?
It might have been this guy.
Wow.
No, it was actually, the hoods above stoves, like the vent hoods.
Yes.
Apparently there was an electrical fire in the vent hood, and my brother in the shared building ran over. He said, or my dad said, he had to go through 3 fire extinguishers in order to put it out before the fire department got there.
Jeez.
But
so
the
your
fire
brother's a
department
hero.
was saying that if the fire was in the hood, which is in the walls.
The hood?
Yeah, in the hood. So, if that shit had got going, and it was the middle of the night.
Wow. But it was his hood?
No, it's a shared apartment building, like a shared like kitchen area.
Oh.
But he ran in there, and the first 2 fire extinguishers didn't work, and he had to run to the opposite side of the building to get a third one that did work.
Wow.
And but yeah, the fire department was saying that if those fires get going, they go right up into the walls.
Oh, I'm
and that's a
sure.
wrap. So
do people actually replace their fire extinguisher every year like they're supposed to?
doesn't sound like it.
I mean, have you?
I don't have a fire extinguisher.
Oh.
I should get one. Actually, I think I do have a little one. Yeah, I do.
So you if you do have one, you definitely haven't gotten it like replaced.
No.
You're supposed to. But I haven't either, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But that's a good reminder. This is your reminder, everybody. And
Right.
if you're a fire department and watching, you should be thanking us for this because we're doing our duty. Make sure you get those fire extinguishers updated or whatever they're supposed to do.
Right.
Everywhere. But okay, let's talk DOGE a little bit because this has been such a hot viral topic from the beginning of the Trump administration and even before so. And that's one of the things I kind of want to get into discussing because there's a weird behavior. This is my post that I put out there on Sunday. DOGE has officially expired. If you go look at the actual rule that set it up, it was terminating on July 4th, 2026. The website savings had not been updated since January 1st of 2026. And I say that as probably the person who's covered DOGE more than anybody else on the internet. I provided an update on DOGE every single day since the day the website was up. I was the only one who saw that the website was actually down because I was the only one checking it probably. But literally every day on my show since the website was up, over a year and a half, maybe even. While DOGE claimed to have saved $215 billion, which the reason I say claimed is we have no way of verifying they saved anything. That's what they put on the numbers on the screen. We are still on track to spend $439 billion more in 2026 than 2025, and the deficit is set to increase to $1.85 trillion in 2026, which is $78 billion higher than in 2025. And if you look at the numbers here, 2027, it's going to be like $300 billion higher than that. And then by 2036, we're still on track to be over $11 trillion. That's our deficit or spending. The deficit's down here. Just nuts numbers, unsustainable. But then I posed a question, are you happy with what DOGE accomplished? Did it live up to expectations? Keep in mind here, in this post, I did not offer any of my own opinion. I put the facts out there and asked 2 questions. I was met with so much like hatred and disdain and like people calling me names and like all these things. And it just got me thinking overnight. So I spent like most of my show on Monday talking about this. And so it's nice to have like a little feedback here with you. This is a behavior that is in our community quite often where people like they get so emotionally attached and invested in either a person or a storyline or whatever it is. And that anything that potentially works against it, even though I wasn't the one doing it, I was just posting the numbers. The numbers that I showed are what worked against the narrative that they want with DOGE. But people get so protective of it, right? And I just thought it was a very interesting thing. And I get met with a lot of people saying, oh, well, DOGE is just in on the computers and all those things. And I want to use this as another good example of something similar to the Epstein files because whatever savings and whatever Trump was going to do with making the government more efficient, whether that's like Palantir being on all the computer systems or the AI push or whatever it is, DOGE had literally nothing to do with it. I mean, maybe that was the cover story for it, but DOGE wasn't even Trump's idea. It was Elon Musk's. And Trump's like, yeah, I guess we can do that or whatever. And then he went with it. Like it was a viral thing. Obviously, he's going to attach the viral thing. But if you're telling me that let's just say we don't even have proof that whatever is on all these computer systems, that's a speculative statement. But assuming that's true, I'll give you that. Assuming that part is true, are you telling me that it wouldn't have happened without DOGE? Because my argument would be that all that stuff was going to happen anyway. This was just a narrative delivery system that they used. And Trump hasn't talked about DOGE in a year or maybe even more. I don't know. I don't remember the last time Trump mentioned DOGE. He doesn't care about
he never
DOGE.
Does. Yeah.
And so as something Trump didn't even mention, I don't understand why people are so defensive of it when I wasn't even attacking it. I was just posting the facts about it. But there's an interesting like behavior here that I think is it's a larger trend with the truth community. You get it a lot with like the Q stuff, right? People get really mad at us even when we poke fun at Q or whatever. We said we're going to stop doing that quite as much. It's probably going to be tough to quit. But do you know what I mean? Like people get so defensive over certain people.
Not Q. I don't usually make fun of Q, but
Yeah, you know what I meant. That's what I meant.
commentary. Yeah.
The certain set of decoders who are trying to destroy Badlands. There's this weird protective behavior of people, things, news stories, whatever it is, and it tends to be the ones, like, we're defensive of the ones that we should be the least, right? Like, I understand being defensive of Trump stuff or something like Trump is actually trying to push, like that I can give you the benefit of the doubt, but Trump didn't even come up with this idea. And you're also saying that this did something that wouldn't have happened otherwise, which I have a hard time believing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The way the first thing I think about with this is that, as you said, I think you said narrative delivery vehicle, or however you put it,
Delivery system. Yeah.
Whenever this was announced right before the actual start of the second term, right? We were in Myrtle Beach at GART, and DOGE was, I would say, in my recollection, DOGE was the major topic of conversation in Myrtle Beach. It was certainly one of them. Myrtle Beach GART was right after Trump got reelected, but before he had been inaugurated. So this was a narrative deployment at the time. And many of us said, I said very strongly that I thought DOGE was, before it was active, that it was a narrative translation vehicle, that it was a narrative, delivery vehicle, as you said. Now, I didn't know if it was going to be actual as well, but it also depends on what you think of the Trump and Elon dynamic. And, I think it's very worthwhile going back and forth on that. I think it's, I've had conversations with Matt Ehret, who, Chris Paul can be skeptical of that pairing, of the intentions on either side of that pairing, but I don't think, has a firm, hey, this is what it is. Matt Ehret feels very strongly about Elon Musk in a negative direction and has written extensively on it, and I've read his writings on it, and I think it's worth keeping all that in mind. For me personally, I've written a lot about thinking that Elon is helping Trump, is not trying to subvert him or draft off of him. I think there's very strong arguments in both directions, but the reason I didn't get emotionally invested in Doge, and therefore am not upset at posts like that about, oh, Doge didn't actually do anything, it didn't do the stuff it said it was going to do, is because my expectations, to use your terminology, they weren't just lowered about that, they were entirely different. My expectations were that Doge was a disclosure vehicle. That's what I said it was before it launched. So on just those grounds, just that, do more normal Americans know in detailed fashion about the waste, fraud, and abuse of the federal government now than they did before the Doge deployment? Personally, I would say it did a really good job of amplifying that kind of stuff. But in terms of the funny thing about people attacking you about that is I bet a lot of the people are doing it because they think Elon Musk white hat, you're somehow sort of, besmirching what Elon was doing, or you're besmirching Trump's agenda. You don't think it's working. The funny thing is, Elon Musk, when he left his role, before he left his role, said Doge didn't work and blamed it on the federal bureaucracy. Elon Musk didn't come out. I know that you're saying the Doge website says, hey, we've saved this much money. Elon Musk was the leader, literally codified as the leader of the Doge deployment. And he was publicly the narrative face of it. He was the face of the whole thing. He told the American people in 2025, it can't be fixed. The machine is too big. I brought in the smartest people in the world, and I'm one of the smartest people in the world, and we have the most advanced AI systems and info mapping systems in the world, and we can't do anything about it because of the bureaucracy in the administrative state and in Congress. There's too much red tape. So to me, I don't even take that as negative. I take that, if I thought it was a narrative deployment and disclosure about U.S. waste, fraud, and abuse, government waste, fraud, and abuse going in, and if the guy who led the narrative deployment left it by saying exactly that, then the funny thing is, you can be entirely right about the actuals of the Doge deployment not delivering any of what it said it was going to do, while if you had the right perspective, or I think a healthier perspective and a more realistic perspective of what its intentions were, that it succeeded there. And I totally agree with you also that in order to actually clean up the waste, fraud, and abuse, it's not going to come. Think of how ridiculous it would be if it comes through like an appointed agency when the whole thing is to dismantle the administrative state. So we're going to like create a new committee. You know, it was a little silly. If that stuff is going to get taken care of, which, you know, I'm hopeful that it does, it's going to come by way of the moves Trump has been making, which is, or trying to make, executive orders, you know, all these kinds of things. Because as we've been talking about all year in 2026 and before it, Congress is a roadblock to Trump's agenda. They're not helping 100%. Trump's agenda. The court system is a roadblock to Trump's agenda. And DOGE, the reason I don't put DOGE in that negative category for me personally is I think the DOGE deployment amplified, or should have amplified, the MAGA base and America First base into saying, this is absurd. These people are stopping Trump's agenda. I don't think Elon hurt that narrative. I think he actually helped that narrative. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was the point of them to say, guys, none of this shit got solved. You can wave your hands and have Oval Office meetings all you want. What we need to do is literally restructure the federal government.
Yeah, so that's a good point. That's kind of what I'm alluding to. And you nailed it with saying Elon Musk came out on multiple interviews is like, yeah, we did some things. We saved a couple $100 billion, but we met a roadblock of the entrenched bureaucracy and whatever. There's a couple other things he attributed it to, and that's such a good point. If that's still there, then it didn't live up to its expectations. But it's even more so like, yeah, it was a big narrative op, and it got everybody excited about fixing the fraud and stuff. But if they're telling us the fraud wasn't fixed, what does that mean? We have multiple different committees on it. We have JD Vance leading a task force on it now too. It still doesn't seem like it's fixed. Like he just had a thing today where he is supposedly doing another big meeting on the fraud, and we're still waiting for any sort of solution and actual spending to be cut and fraud to be found and taxes to go away and all those things. So what's it going to take? But even more so, like it's that behavior. So everything we just said, believing that's all true, where even Elon Musk says it didn't work. Why do we get so defensive of these ops? And why do we like the most common rebuttal, besides from people that were like, oh, you're retarded, obviously it did this. And they always say it was entrenching all this AI within the government and it's still going to fix all these things. There's technically no proof of any of that, right? We don't know if any of that has been done. That's a hopeful thing. And maybe there's some stories about AI being on every single government. I mean, every week it seems like there's a new story of the government partnering with a new AI, but still it's like it's that behavior that I think would, at least being having some self-reflection and understand. Cause I think I do it too. I'm sure everybody does this to some degree with certain stories. Everybody has their favorite pet story and they get a little maybe emotionally or irrationally, I don't know, charged
attached to an outcome they want it. Yeah. You get outcome attached.
Yeah. And so when that's the case, it makes it hard. But I think when you recognize it, at least you can maybe understand it. Because when you don't do that, that's definitely a better position to be in when it comes to the info war. Certainly.
Yeah. And I think to your point, it's not, we've grown, I'd like to think we've grown pretty thick skinned. It's not even about that. I think what you're pointing out is more that if our outlook on what DOGE did positively is in any way true, the great irony is that the people attacking you for that post clearly didn't get it. They did not the post. They didn't get the point of the op, right? Which maybe means that it didn't succeed in the way I'm saying it did. Obviously, these things don't succeed. PSYOPs don't succeed for good or bad. They don't succeed, or disclosures don't succeed across the board. 100%. You're never going to get everybody. For me, and somebody in chat said this, I missed the name, but somebody said, Elon, he said, that's true to what we were just saying, that Elon said it didn't work, the DOGE deployment, but Elon said the only way out is growth. And Trump said that. I pointed this out in 2025. Yeah. And Trump the same day tweeted, we have to grow our way out. They both tweeted that. And by the way, this was in the midst of their breakup. I think it was last summer. Because then they didn't get back together until the Charlie Kirk trauma event, as Chris would call it, until the sort of reconciliation at the Charlie Kirk event. But in the summer last year, the big story was the breakup of Trump and Elon, which we projected in advance, just like we projected their get-together in the first place in advance. So if you can project all those things in advance, it's almost like a big story is being told.
Yeah.
The question becomes, why the story, right? So why the disclosure? So if I'm saying, I can understand some pushback on my view if I'm saying, I think this was a disclosure about waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. And the secondary level of that exposure, to your point, is that it didn't work and there's no way to fix it within the current system. You can't fix the system from within the system. This is what Chris is always saying about elections. This is what John Drake is always saying about elections, and a hell of a lot more in our republic. When it comes to the DOGE deployment, I believe that Donald Trump and Elon Musk, in the midst of their feud, did tell you what they think the answer is. They're telling you, yeah, we can't do it by cutting red tape. We're trying. We tried. The president can't even cut the red tape because the courts and Congress, the two other co-equal branches, are engaged in a soft coup against President Trump. And that's pretty clear, I think, at this point. Doesn't mean everybody is. Obviously, Clarence Thomas is awesome. But just generally, the two other branches are working against Trump's agenda. And Elon Musk wasn't able to rein in the administrative state because he doesn't have the actual power projection. So this is adjacent to all the news stories we talk about. You just mentioned AI. Outside of the context of DOGE, Trump and Elon, all of their narrative deployments economically are about AI, accelerationism, a nuclear renaissance, and all of that is predicated, autonomy, it's all predicated on the idea of growth. Scott Bessent, a lot of Scott Bessent's narrative deployments in the last 2 years have been all about how we can have double-digit GDP before the end of Trump's term, which is unheard of in recent American history, generations. So if that happens, then that would render a lot of the DOGE findings obsolete, basically, because they're going to grow our way out. So the note I had written at the time is the only way out is through. They're telling you the only way out is through, is to render this stuff essentially meaningless. I think Trump has been able to, or has tried to make headway in cutting future red tape and making it more difficult for future waste, fraud, and abuse. I think there's been more success on that front. Yeah. But in terms of the debt we have of $30 trillion and all that kind of stuff, that is what it is. It's baked into the cake. So the only way out of that is for Trump to basically deliver the golden age agenda. And who's helping him do that? In my opinion, look at what Elon Musk is doing in the private sector.
Yeah.
It's all these massive accelerators. And, you could think Bitcoin companies and all the rest of it, nuclear companies. I think that's what they're doing. I think this is part of the public-private partnership reversal that we've been talking about for a while. Trump is using the private sector to basically go around the deep state and say, all right, you're not going to let me cut the waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm just going to make it obsolete.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal goal. I mean, we have so much to do to get to that point, though. Yeah. On Saturday, we went over a little bit of the national resilience strategy, and a lot of it, again, has to do with the public-private partnerships that you're just talking about. And I think at the end of the day, like, it comes down to something you kind of said earlier. The people who created the problem and benefit from the problem cannot be the ones we expect to fix the problem. And so many times in the InfoWar, especially since Trump got back in there, you see people going back to like, oh, Congress can do this. Congress will pass a SAVE Act and that'll save us. Oh, DOGE is going to fix all the fraud. Like all these different government agencies we're pointing to fix all the problems that the government agencies created and that the government officials themselves benefit from. It just seems so silly. Like I am much more on board with a public-private partnership type model than with let's have a bigger government to solve more of the government's problems. It just makes no sense. Yeah, we keep going back to that well time and time again. I would encourage you guys all to go and read that national resilience strategy, and I'll put it in the chat here for you guys, or go watch Saturday's show. But yeah, a lot of it was smaller government, give more power back to the people, back to the states, and a lot of public-private partnerships to do growth and national security things. It made a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah, so you had said I didn't see that show on Saturday, so it sounds like obviously you guys talked about a lot of the stuff I've been thinking about the last week or so. I think that's the most interesting narrative. Maybe a different spin on it. I don't know if you touched on this, you and Chris, but I think it was on the Blitz on last Friday with Ash and I. We were talking about the stakes in public companies, the stakes in private companies, rather, Intel and MP Materials, all that kind of stuff. And I had said, look for the media to start accusing Trump of being a communist. And
we spent like an hour of Saturday show on this.
Yeah, so sure enough, that's what they're doing. But it's there was even a new one. Where the hell is it? Yeah, here we go. There's a new one today from The Atlantic, which has really become the MVP of reverse indicators. What Trump has in common with the far left: if the president fears communism, maybe he should stop mimicking its worst elements. And this is the same. So this is a week after the article we talked about on the Blitz was, where the hell is it? Here it is. They wrote this last week. There's nothing democratic about these socialists. So I think these two things are related, which is why I was saying it on the Blitz last week.
Yeah.
The media started last week, the mainstream media, especially on the left, was attacking the DSA. They were attacking Mamdani and AOC and all of them, and talking about like how Bernie Sanders is rising back into the zeitgeist. And then you had a whole Axios thing last week where they were talking about Kamala Harris is now courting the extreme DSA. So there's a panic within the establishment, quote unquote, left of the rise of the DSA socialists. And then you've got Trump mimicking on paper some of the very policies. If you read 2015 and 16 Bernie Sanders proposals, it's kind of crazy, some of the stuff Trump is doing. Because I'm not saying Trump is Bernie Sanders, but need I remind people, many disillusioned liberals like myself actually came into the MAGA tent through Bernie Sanders.
Yes,
because in 2015 and 16, it was actually, I was so disillusioned at the time, I wasn't even paying attention to politics. But my two cousins, who were liberals, were hardcore Bernie bros, which I didn't understand because I was like, he's a socialist. Why are you guys into this? And their whole thing in 2015 and 16 was, we want Bernie to destroy the DNC, destroy the Democratic Party. That then led them into becoming Trump maximalists, because when the DNC stole the primaries from Bernie, Trump defended him. And that's what got them in the door to Trump, right? And then I got in the door with Trump kind of through that. So it's absolutely fascinating right now where you've got this intra-party civil war going on the left side of the aisle of establishment Democrats, aka Uniparty, versus socialists. But then you've got socialists starting to praise some of the aspects of Trump's agenda. And you've got conservatives like never-Trumpers that are demonizing what Trump is doing and saying that he's interfering in the free market. So he's, talk about discombobulation, he's got a really interesting thing going right now where you've got conservatives calling for him to take stakes in private companies, and then you've got like Bernie bros and DSA socialists going, I mean, yeah, that's what we've been saying that you should do. So I don't know. It's like the Uniparty, the only ones who don't agree with what he's doing is basically the Uniparty.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. Like I said, me and Chris spent a decent amount of time on Saturday's show talking about this, not just because of the previous stakes in companies that Trump has taken, but there's talk about, potentially him getting, there was that Lutnick clip from back in 2025 where he's like, yeah, we're looking very seriously at taking stakes in these defense contracting companies because if it wasn't for the United States government, they wouldn't exist or make any of this money. And then there's obviously the talk of them getting a 5% stake in OpenAI. There's other companies that are out there, probably like a SpaceX and stuff like that, that eventually they'll, have some partial ownership in. Who knows? But the communism rhetoric from Trump, and he had another one today that I'll put up on the screen right now, actually.
By the way, did you see that SpaceX just invested a ton of money into Trump accounts today?
I don't think it was SpaceX himself. Somebody donated SpaceX stock.
That's what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, I did see that. But this is Trump today, again, talking about communism. And on Saturday's show, I played the clip of back when Trump was talking about COVID being a worse attack than Pearl Harbor, a worse attack than 9/11. We've never seen an attack like this. Clip we used to play all the time on here. I might even have
it's in the intro.
Yeah, it's in the intro for sure. I thought I had it in the clips here, but I don't. But anyway, you guys have all seen the clip. So when I hear Trump bring those things up again now, talking about communism, though, I just think it's very interesting.
When I watch what's happening and I see these lowlifes I mean, they're lowlifes. I watch them. I know good people. I know quality people. These are essentially lowlifes. And when I see what they're talking, I think they're very dangerous in many ways. And I've said it. And then I said, boy, that's a pretty big statement. Then I realized, a couple of people said, I think you're probably right. I think this country, with this thing that's going around, is in more danger than it was during World War I, World War II. If you talk about September 11th, if you talk about Pearl Harbor, that was big danger. I think the concept of us going communist, because one thing that happens when you go communist, you never come back, never comes back. You die in squalor. You die a horrible death. You die in squalor. And it gets very evil and very nasty. Yeah, please go. When I watch what's happening and I see these lowlights.
There we go. Yeah, so that rhetoric, I think it's very interesting that he has been pushing the narrative of how dangerous communism is, while other people are kind of like subtly and not so subtly calling him a communist. I think it's funny.
Well, just think of the narrative position it puts the enemy in. When you're the Atlantic and when you're, we can debate, and I think it's a really fascinating debate on what he's doing with these private companies. Is it capitalism? Is it communism? Is it some mix of the two? Commie capitalism? Like what is it?
I don't think it's direct communism. Because isn't that state-owned means of production?
Yeah,
I don't.
It's not communism.
Yeah.
I just mean it's not traditional capitalism either. Because the main argument against it, and I'm for it, by the way, just to make that clear.
God,
the main argument I'm seeing against it from people that I don't think are just being like emotional retards is market making. They're less concerned about the U.S. government / American people, Treasury funding, being in the market in this way. They're more concerned with saying if the U.S. Treasury is investing directly in OpenAI, let's say, they're making a market in that market. What about the other 10 players in that market? So if these companies then have this like passive investment flow coming directly from the US taxpayer, essentially, it's tax receipts that are going into this, then you can fairly look at that and say, you're picking winners and losers, right? That's not all the criticism of what he's doing is anti-Trump drama, which is why I think that there's more going on here, as is usually the case. But yeah, it makes me think of the sovereign wealth fund idea. I think that's what's going on. I don't know if you guys talked about that on Saturday.
No.
But so this was the executive order from 2025. I know you love your EOs.
I sure do.
A plan for establishing a United States sovereign wealth fund. So we went over this at the time. When was this? February. So that was right at the start. He was talking about a sovereign wealth fund, right? I had written in January about the Saudi Public Investment Fund, which I thought it was notable because right as Trump was deploying, the narratives around an American sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had, which is kind of crazy, the NGOs, Human Rights Watch was the one I was documenting at the time, were putting out these massive hit pieces, like tens of thousands of word research papers against the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, made famous by Mohammed bin Salman. And we had done some shows in early 2025 in which I was saying, and Ghost has said this, a lot of the Q people who followed the 2017 Saudi purge and everything, that's what actually got me into the Q drops, was the Saudi purge. Because I thought, oh, that's interesting. I heard about this the other day. I think, but don't know for sure, and the Human Rights Watch paper theorizes that most of the investments in the Saudi Public Investment Fund were seizures. They were de facto asset seizures, right? They weren't necessarily framed that way by the Saudi government, but the fund was flush with cash, billions and billions and billions, on the back of the Saudi purge. So what was going on there? And we've talked for years about executive order, whatever, of, human rights abuses. You know the one. You know the thing.
818.
818. And I know that this is not literal, but the general framework of what Trump is doing with some of these companies, that's the other reading of it. I think it's twofold. I think personally, these are companies that he's de facto got them over a barrel. We talked about this a lot through the trade war in 2025, that war was not against other nations necessarily. It was actually against the American oligarchy, these American corporations, and saying, get your asses back here, employ Americans, and make shit in the homeland, or you're effed. And maybe those executive orders don't need to be levered. Maybe they're just hanging like a sword of Damocles. The other side of it is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And I was actually talking to AI a bit today about this, of saying, hey, with Trump's deals in Intel, etc., is this a de facto sovereign wealth fund? And it was basically saying that one way of looking at it is, this is a way that he's positioning, he's basically creating a U.S. Treasury balance sheet, because the sovereign wealth fund has not actually been, it's not been codified, it's not been created yet.
No.
And the reason for that is the bureaucracy we're talking about.
Congress.
It's Congress. You need Congress. So Trump is basically already collecting all his action figures using all these weird, I don't even understand them. You probably understand them way better. All these weird executive actions that he's taking that are unprecedented to take stakes in these companies. But ultimately, he wants it codified as an ongoing public investment fund. But so I think what he's doing here is that once we do get the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund codified, all these assets are already sitting there. You just take all these assets and you roll them right in.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. But again, it comes down to Congress being the problem. And people keep saying like, oh, we just need to win the midterms. It's such a losing argument because it's not going to happen. We can't expect to be saved by the midterm. But we don't need to get into that debate. But I do want to get to the next part of the show. Chris sent over a article on the Iran situation. So it's an Axios one. It's pretty quick. I think we can read through it and talk a little bit about the Iran war briefly. But before we do that, I want to get a quick word from Rumble Studio and Rumble Wallet. So we got a paid advertisement.
Tamarack Flats just gifted through Rumble Wallet.
That's awesome. Paid advertisement from Rumble Wallet. Quick question. How much control do you have over your money right now? Technology has changed and now it's changing how money works. Crypto started as a niche, but it's going mainstream. Faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen. And this isn't hype. It's just where things are going. And getting started today is easier than you think. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stablecoins, even own digital gold backed by real gold, all in one place. It's a non-custodial crypto wallet. Means you, not a bank or a platform, control access to your funds. Setup is simple. Connects with MoonPay so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in minutes. Or you can even use your Rumble Wallet to support your favorite Rumble creators like us here at Badlands directly, like Tamarack Flats just did a minute ago. And apparently he's not having any issues with the Rumble Wallet transactions like some people are. We're still testing that if you want to test your rant feature,
we wanted
guys.
to test full Bitcoin transactions because I think the smaller denominations are working fine. But if a full Bitcoin transaction comes through,
would be curious to see if those work. Take control of your money now. Scan the QR code, click the link in the description, or go to wallet.rumble.com/DPH and get started with Rumble Wallet today. And thank you to Rumble Wallet and Rumble Studio for that ad. Okay, let's read through this article a little bit because obviously war is back on the menu. We're bombing again, and it could be a long one, another long exchange of fire. With Iran's ceasefire over, Trump shifts to battle for Hormuz. This is by Barack Ravid, who Ghost says is the guy. He thinks he's the guy, and I think he's probably pretty right about this, that the Trump admin goes to leak whatever they want out there, to say whatever they want said. The White House is preparing for what could become a multi-day or even multi-week exchange of fire with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz. The length and severity of the new campaign hinge entirely on Tehran's next moves, U.S. officials tell Axios. A war that began with the goal of degrading Iran's missile capabilities and destroying what remained of its nuclear program has evolved into an open-ended fight over the world's most important energy choke point. A U.S. official said the current escalation could last a day or two, a week, or a month, depending on whether Iran continues its attacks on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to slap them a bit so they understand we're not effing around, the U.S. official said. Diplomacy is stalled for now. The military pressure is back at the center of President Trump's strategy. Wednesday, the 60-day ceasefire outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding was over after an exchange of fire triggered by Iranian attacks on commercial ships. The U.S. then launched a second round of strikes near the Strait of Hormuz, including attacks on infrastructure targets inside Iran for the first time in months. It's actually the first time I remember, period, that they actually bombed bridges. That came out today, and I do remember back when Trump said he was going to start a civilization-ending, bombing campaign, that there was a bunch of protests on bridges, which I thought was so silly. But apparently there weren't any of those protests tonight. Otherwise, they never would have bombed those bridges, right?
Exactly.
Iran retaliated with attacks on U.S. bases in Kuwait and Bahrain while insisting it would not back down from its claim to control the strait. Trump signaled the U.S. was ready to de-escalate, telling reporters on Air Force One that Iranian officials had called a little while ago and want to make a deal. And I actually have that clip somewhere. Hold for processing. Let me pull that up if I can find it. Yeah, here we go.
Are we returning to a full-scale military conflict, sir?
I don't know. I don't know. We'd win it very quickly. It's another way of doing it. We have many ways we can win. But we've already won militarily. They have very little. They have very little left. And they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago. They want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem.
If they want to make a deal, why do you think they attacked commercial vessels?
Because they're sort of crazy, to be honest with you. They're sort of crazy. They're a little bit out of control, but they want to make a deal. Badly. So, we hit back much harder.
So, yeah, I'm back to the article real quick. Just a couple more quick points. Reopening the Strait of Hormuz and restoring freedom of navigation to commercial ships has become a central goal for the Trump administration, mainly to stabilize global energy markets. This is the first time, and I've been tracking the gas prices every day, the average gas prices. First time they've actually gone up in like 3 months, and it only went up like 0.006 cents, but still, it's the first time I've seen it go up since I'm covering it. Also, I was thinking about it. CanCon said $2.40 by July 4th. Maybe he was talking about like the year 2040 or 2050 or something.
Yeah.
He technically didn't specify the year.
Goalposts. Yeah.
Yeah. And, maybe we'll help him move those goalposts because he likes doing it. He doesn't need to move those things himself.
Yeah.
For Iran, maintaining control of the strait has been a key objective. Officials say White House believes it has more room to escalate because hundreds of oil tankers have managed to leave. I'll skip reading through the rest of this, but I think the most interesting point of this to me is the energy market stuff. Like, Trump obviously wants to end the conflict. Obviously, there's probably bigger things going on behind the scenes, and we don't know why there's more escalation now, what changed. But when it comes to the energy markets, we are, 3-4 months away from the November midterms, if we have them. Still love the theory that maybe they'll get canceled and shut down. I would love that. But let's just hypothetically say they won't, and they move forward. One of the biggest knocks against Trump will be the prices, inflation, energy market stuff. And this does not bode well for that, because as quick as they are to raise the prices, and we've said this 1,000 times, they are so much slower to lower them. And I'm curious to see how long this thing actually goes on. We thought we had it just a little bit ago. Now it's back on the table. Rerun central, a little boring, but there we are. I'm sure you have some things to add too.
Well, I mean, just that point you ended on, I think, is the point, is that what is most interesting about it, I think, is that Trump appears to be the one perpetuating it. I'm not saying, we can argue back and forth about who's tit for tatting who with actual missiles on silos and all this shit that we can't confirm, that we're just looking at OSINT stuff on Twitter. I'm talking about who's keeping the story going. Well, it's Trump. I mean, Trump and the Iranians are going back and forth in the narrative and supposedly back and forth in the actual. So to your point about the timeline, it's interesting to me that Trump is keeping the timeline going. And despite on paper it looking like that's a really bad move in terms of optics for him and for his agenda, he doesn't seem bothered by it. And that doesn't automatically mean it's a good thing, but That does make me wonder about the midterms. I mean, he doesn't seem overly concerned about that. I don't think they're going to get canceled. You know, I think that I'm not going to get on that rug. I've got on plenty of rugs, but I'm not going to get on that one, although I'll be happy to be proven wrong. But I think the timeline perpetuation, the perpetuation of this narrative is interesting. Trump is stretching it. What I had written about back in March and April when I was just writing every week about the Iran war narrative was I was trying to look at all around the game board, aside from the US and Iran, Trump and the Iranian regime, who is being negatively impacted by the perpetuation of this narrative. And some of the sort of factions that I had laid out is, I think, the energy cartel, they're actually making record profits, but they're being exposed and now they're being threatened by Trump, you know, via the DOJ. So that's a party, that's a faction that maybe is not actually okay with this perpetuating. But I think the bigger ones is NATO, which is notable right now. You're going to tell me there's nothing to the timing of Trump goes over to NATO and humiliates them again, as you said at the start of the show, in a way that he has many times before. But this humiliation is different in many ways because in the years past, Trump was staging a hypothetical attack on NATO by saying, we've been there for you, you haven't been there for us. But NATO could just push back at him 2 years ago and say, of course we'd be there for you. Well, the Strait of Hormuz situation is an active, emphatic demonstration that NATO is not there for us. So one of the things that I had said, you know, in the show post for tonight, just before we went live, is Trump discombobulating Iran? Is Iran discombobulating Trump? Or are Trump and Iran discombobulating NATO in the global battle space? Because NATO were the ones, I think, that look the worst in light of all these headlines, especially because you have Mark Rutte, who's got to be an our boy. He's doing a great job. I think we've been kind of sleeping on Mark Rutte. He led with Trump coming to Turkey by saying, we have to admit Trump was right. And this is before the hostilities supposedly renewed. So while he's over there, Rutte ushers him in, who, you know, for anybody who's not aware, Rutte is like the military guy of NATO. So what he's saying in light of this means the most out of anybody in NATO. And he's the only guy Trump has on his side over there, besides Erdogan himself of Turkey. So they're saying, yeah, we haven't held up our end of the bargain, but you've got the rest of these NATO vultures sitting on their, you know, sitting in Brussels, saying, oh, well, at least the Iran war is over. Like, none of that matters anymore. We don't have to talk about that. And Trump and Iran just go, no, it's back on, actually. So now that I'm here, what are you spending on national defense, and why should the U.S. be in NATO? I think that's just one potential path, but it is funny that Trump doesn't seem worried about the timeline perpetuating. And I'm starting to wonder, you know, do they just grind it until markets and everybody moves on? That's one of the ways I've looked at it, is going, are they trying to stress test markets and just see if they'll eventually just give up on the narrative that Iran is resulting in all this volatility?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is way down. I don't know if it's at the lowest level it's been since the 90s. Like, I don't know how much that is contributing to the lowering of prices these last 2 months. Is it because it's actually been open this whole time, which we've talked about, Trump kind of alluded to? I don't know. There's a lot going on, but it was kind of cool. Trump did get Spain to actually commit. Like, yesterday, he talked so much crap about Spain and not contributing. It's like, we're going to cut off all trade with them, and then they finally committed a bunch of money to NATO.
I didn't see the second part. Yeah,
you didn't see that?
I didn't see them capitulate. No, I saw him light them up, but I didn't see them capitulate.
Here, he made comments on the plane about it too. Here we go.
I have no idea how he's doing. At the beginning of before the NATO summit, you spoke. Who are you with? Reuters. You had not the best. You had issues with. You said you had issues with leaders of Spain, UK. Yeah. Spain, I will say, I did have issues with also Spain, Germany, and I still do. But Spain came back all the way today. Spain was very generous today. You know, I told them I'm going to stop trading. What did Spain do to them? They made. They honored the request for lots of payment. And if they didn't, we wouldn't even talk to them. They were very bad. They behaved very badly, in my opinion. But there was great unity in that room today, the NATO room. pretty amazing, actually. There was something very good about it. I actually wish the press was able to stay. Now, they may have been different if the press was there, but there was tremendous unity and togetherness. It was quite nice.
Interesting comments there. Might have been different if the press had stayed, but what great unity they had.
Well,
yes,
actually, I was just going to bring up this article. I hadn't seen that clip until you played it, but I was going to call bullshit on this, but it seems like Trump just kind of confirmed it. So Politico said, Trump yelled at NATO leaders in public. In private, it was a different story. The president started his visit to Ankara berating the NATO alliance. Something changed before he left. The president was far more positive on Wednesday when he gave a final 30-minute speech, which left out his desire to annex Greenland or criticize Spain, blah, blah, blah. Quote, "We want to remain with you," Trump said, according to a second participant in the meeting. The shift was a notable about-face for a president who has threatened repeatedly to leave the alliance and came after European leaders heaped praise on Trump for helping ensure allies boosted their defense spending. It was a bit unexpected. The mood in the room was a lot better than it seemed before. His mood seems to have swung. So, I don't know. That's kind of interesting that he goes in there like swinging.
Yeah.
Swinging, and then he's like, it's cool, guys.
You know, I mean, I wonder if Trump ever gets sick of having to like fight with these people in person, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, I feel that way sometimes. Like, at the end of the day, you know, you could sit there and fight with people, but if you know you're right, and you know you can have it your way anyway, why bother? Like, just okay, I'll just go through the motions here, whatever, and then on the flip side of this, I'll just do things the way I want anyway. You know what I mean?
Well, that's another way of looking at this Iran situation, this current chapter of the Iran situation. The quotes that went the most viral from Trump. I mean, what was the actual quote that like lit up the internet this morning that Trump said? He said, "I think it's over." I've got the clip here. I'll just play it. I'm sure it's been played a lot on Badlands today, but in case anybody hasn't seen it.
Is the ceasefire over? Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
So, there's the obvious of that, surface level reading. But I think it's interesting in light of the timing with NATO, because what was the big spat about with NATO? Defense spending. Mm-hmm. And the fact that NATO has no power projection and all that, right? So when Trump is sitting there saying, they're scum, I'm done with them, I don't care anymore, that was all the headlines across the globalist media. The same globalist media that are NATO maximalists and think Trump is being too mean to them and think that the US needs NATO. So if you ignore the Iran side of the equation, Trump's threats about breaking the ceasefire and saying the deal with Iran is done, who does that actually threaten the most? And again, in my series, I argue that even though we're facing higher energy prices, Europe are the ones who cannot abide a perpetual conflict between the US and Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. So who is actually being levered? Who's actually being negotiated against here? And why the timing? So, of course, that's reading tea leaves, but I think it's kind of interesting that Trump kicks it, restarts the war with Iran, and then we've got these European leaders capitulating to him and tripping over themselves, to when last week, by the way, if you were reading the previews, like the pre-fight of Trump going to Ankara, the rhetoric out of the European Union, especially Italy, was very bombastic and boastful and aggressive toward Trump. Mark Carney of Canada, very aggressive. And all of a sudden, when he actually gets there, they kind of tuck tail and submit. And I wonder if it has to do with the fact that he kind of just threatened them by saying, I'm going to start this war again in the narrative, and you guys are getting squeezed by it way harder than we are.
Yeah, one of the things I thought was interesting today is, so right after Trump got done speaking, Axios put out an article, and it was kind of like summarizing the weekend. The thing that they drew attention to as being the most concerning aspect from the NATO conference was this last line, bottom line. NATO leaders are used to Trump's threats by now, which they are. I mean, they've been talking about Trump and his rhetoric towards NATO and all that stuff for a while, from before the national security strategy, but definitely when that strategy came out. What's harder to shrug off, though, is the ongoing drawdown of U.S. troops in Europe, the biggest shift in the continent's defense posture since the Cold War. So no matter what Trump's rhetoric is to these people's faces, while he's there or while he's not there, like, he's been definitely harsh and he's justified and talked about why we should be leaving NATO. It's the fact that he's actually pulling troops out, and it's not just talking the talk, but he's actually like walking the walk. And once the troops are out of there, it makes total sense to just cut off the spending then at that point too, which I would not be surprised. And he's almost like setting them up for success for when he leaves, because he's like, you guys all need to like step up your game with the spending, make it even for everybody, or, like pay what you're supposed to be paying. And then it's like when he gets to that point where all the countries are on a more level playing field, that's perfect time to rug pull it and leave.
I think that's exactly right. And I think the Iran situation actually has more to do with that than people think, because that's the threat being actualized. So, it's kind of, it reminds me, to your point, it's like the tough love way of parenting that Trump is doing with Europe right now. And, I know that people in our chat and people who watch our shows, they've got no love lost between us and Europe. But, keep in mind, when we're talking about our allies, our former allies, it's the peoples, it's the West. Like, we do want a resurgent West. We don't want, it's my Lord of the Rings aside I give all the time of there won't be a Shire Pippin. And, I'm not worried about the US, but as much as we kind of meme on what's happening in France and what's happening in England and what's happening in Ireland, that's not good. It's like, it's not good to be seeing the Western man chased into the hills by this scourge of communism and Islamic extremism and Marxism and all this kind of shit over there. So I do think Trump genuinely wants reformation in Europe. Is it going to come through these deep state globalist leaders? Probably not. So, boiling the frog over there, I think, has multiple meanings. But this Iran powder keg, I think, is a big, it's the sort of Damocles Trump is holding over them. To your point about withdrawing, it's not just withdrawing U.S. troops that Trump is threatening them with. It's withdrawing U.S. troops while having kicked the biggest hornet's nests in the world on the way out, right?
So true.
And last week, by the way, to bolster this point, the other thing that Politico, Axios, The Atlantic were reporting about the European Union, various players there, is that, the unnamed sources close to the situation, they were saying that the European Union nations have already resigned themselves to the prospect that they're going to have to pay tolls to the Iranian regime in perpetuity going forward. They're saying that they think that's going to be the new normal. And I think they're right. I think Trump is going to leave them there and say, we're going to onshore. We're going to, cut ourselves off from this, but Europe can't. Europe needs the Strait of Hormuz way more than the U.S. does. And by the way, the faction we don't talk about a lot because they're not as relevant in Western politics is the allies of Asia. Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, places like this. Though Australia, who are basically Asian, those places are even more affected than Europe is by the energy squeeze in the Strait of Hormuz. So yeah, it's like he's not just threatening them by withdrawing U.S. power. He's starting a massive fight in their backyard and then being like, all right, I'm out.
What, you really think Australians are basically Asian?
I'm just trying to make fun of them.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much. I mean, in terms of economy, They're
okay,
really basically just tied into Southeast Asia.
But when we talk basically Asian, we're talking looks, bro.
They're like Asian Americans, basically, I would say.
I disagree.
I used to think Australians were cool, and these days I'm like, you guys are one of the most cucked countries out there.
I know a few cool Australians, but anyway, last thing I want to talk about tonight is this. I think the Seth Rich burn bag documents that set the
upset?
What?
Are you going to make people upset?
I feel like I just do that by existing, so maybe.
So yes.
I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, I'm kind of skeptical. My baseline, if you guys haven't understood this by now, which should put more weight into like the rest of my work, is how skeptical I am by nature of most things.
Mm-hmm.
But this is another one of those stories because it's a burn bag story. How many times have we said on this show, Burning Bright, where it's like, whenever they tell us there's a burn bag of documents, it's not because like there's no actual, secret hidden room behind a bookshelf. I mean, maybe there is a room like that, but they don't just keep finding more rooms with more burn bags. This is how they're injecting the documents or the narrative or whatever storyline into the zeitgeist, right? And this didn't even come from necessarily the FBI. It came from the Seth Rich lawyer who said he heard it from the FBI. It didn't come from like the typical John Solomon story of injecting this stuff. It came from Ty Clevenger, but not to take anything away from Ty Clevenger. He's solid from what I've seen. Anyway, Seth Rich bombshell, hidden documents in secret FBI skiff at headquarters. Attorney Ty Clevenger, representing interests in the Seth Rich case, revealed that a government attorney informed him that several hundred pages of documents related to Seth Rich have been located in a previously hidden, unmapped, and sealed area within the FBI skiff at the J. Edgar Hoover building. This ties directly into a July 30th, 2025 Fox News digital report about newly installed FBI Director Kash Patel and his team discovering a secret space containing burn bags with thousands of pages of classified files slated for destruction, many linked to the 2016 Crossfire Hurricane investigation. The persistent questions surrounding Rich's 2016 murder have long centered on a theory that he was the source behind the DNC. I mean, we all know the story about Seth Rich. This did get me thinking another...
It's connected to Bernie.
Yeah, another thought on this, though, right? Like, we have for so long thought that the burn bag story is like a white hat op to get the stuff out of there because it doesn't make sense if like you're going to destroy evidence and you're the bad guys, only going so far as to put them in the bags and hide them doesn't make sense. Should we consider, and I think that's a rhetorical question because I think we should, what if all the documents in the burn bags were left there intentionally to be limited hangout releases to like close the narrative loops on a lot of these stories? Because how many loose ends are out there about so many different things, and if you just want to like tie those things in a nice little tidy bow, it's like, oh my god, we had documents that they were going to destroy, and then when they come out and release the documents, they don't really reveal anything new. They never get to the bottom of anything. Nobody gets held accountable. But hey, we found these documents they were going to destroy, so like clearly this is the damning stuff, the most damning stuff we have. Here you go. And then it's like, now we're done.
It's an interesting take, but you're saying the burn bags themselves were wearing Groucho masks and were like had signs on the bags that were saying Hillary's personal burn bag, do not open, very secret.
Yes.
It just might work. It's crazy like a fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that would be attempted. It's so dumb, but so is the government.
Everything we've seen so far.
Especially the fact that the FBI are just social media influencers now, as is all of Congress. So yeah, I can buy into that. I do subscribe more to the theory that these are just not only narrative delivery vehicles, and when I use the word disclosure, it's like I know that we haven't had full disclosure on all these things, but I think there are ways to just get certain narratives just back into the zeitgeist in an easy manner. And then I think they double.
I agree
as
with
a
that.
Yeah.
By the way, like that's where I lean with my reading of it too. I'm just presenting an alternative explanation that, if we're going to think bicamerally and be open to many different realities all at once, that's one that I think we should pay attention to, because a lot of the stuff we've gotten so far has been limited hangouts.
Yeah, for sure.
All the time, every other time.
the other way of looking at it, the burn bags to me is a humiliation ritual on the bad guys. Is them saying, because they know whoever's implicated in these things, all these various scandals that have been going on for 10 years, they know what was and was not left behind. And more importantly, they know where that shit was left. And they know it wasn't left in burn bags. So it's kind of funny when, if you imagine this stuff all being real, as the truth community believes it is, the scandals, the Seth Rich scandal, right? If it is at the breadth and scope and, darkness that a lot of this audience believes it is, including myself, you got to look at the burn bag thing as a humiliation on the people implicated as well. Because they're sitting there going like, man, I was the one who ordered the hit on Seth Rich, and I definitely didn't leave documents in a closet. So when you've got the Trump DOJ being like, we found these documents in a closet, what are you supposed to think when you're implicated if it's real? It feels to me like it feels to me in the white pill reading of it, like taunting. And part of that, what we've talked about before with 5th gen warfare is this idea of getting the enemy to expend ammunition, and you kind of feint, and then all of a sudden you hit them with a cross. We're waiting on the cross. We've been waiting on the cross for a long, long time.
10 years.
But it is interesting to me, and I know I'm kind of retarded with like the narrative trend thing, and I probably draw connections that aren't there. But for me, it is notable that I haven't heard shit about Bernie Sanders in 5 years.
Really?
Nothing. Yeah, he's barely in the news. And in the last couple of weeks, he's in the news a lot, orbiting this Democratic Socialists of America surge. So Bernie's kind of back in the zeitgeist. Seth Rich is kind of back in the zeitgeist. We've just got some of these narratives from quite some time ago in seemingly different, disparate locations are kind of coming back around. Often I get my hopes up thinking that means we're getting a convergence, but who knows?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, how much of that is just to placate stuff, like placate people, because like, oh, well, we're finally getting the Seth Rich files soon now, guys. Like, just wait, just hold on. Then we never really get it, So I'm hopeful.
The third one I just forgot about. The third sort of pattern, or that I think makes it a pattern, is Julian Assange is kind of back in the news a little bit more. So it's kind of interesting that we've got like Julian Assange, Seth Rich, Bernie Sanders, and you go back literally, I think 10 years now, to the infamous Joe Rogan podcast that went ridiculously viral with Jimmy Dore talking about the Seth Rich murder. And, that was all about Bernie versus Hillary, and it was all about the DNC. And then Julian Assange was the one who de facto disclosed that, yes, Seth Rich is where we got the information, and he was murdered.
It's not quite how he said it, but
yeah, but I mean, come on.
We had he pretty much did. We had what's his name? Why can't I think of his name now? Mike Benz on OnlyLands, and we talked about that clip. Do you remember that? Let me pull that up. Actually,
I wasn't on that episode, but I did.
I think you're on this weekend. You signed up for this week.
I am. This was the worst week to sign up, but I will be there.
Why was this the worst week to sign up?
Because I'm doing all my normal work and blowing up my bathrooms.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Crapping all over the walls and.
But you also don't have your
smearing fecal matter everywhere.
You don't have your son or wife there to distract you. But here's the clip from Mike Benz when he was on OnlyLands.
This is Julian Assange, not Mike Benz.
Significant efforts to get us material, and often
Mike Benz in the bottom left corner.
Oh, there he is. I didn't see them.
Very significant risks. As a 27-year-old.
By the way, there might be swear words here. I think Mike Benz swears. Keep that in mind.
Works for the DNC. Who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago. For unknown reasons, as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean.
We don't comment on who our sources
are. Come on!
That was like as obvious as it gets. I didn't. Yeah.
What the hell, man?
Oh man,
Julian, you're a free man now, Julian Assange. And Seth Rich is dead in the grave. Solve this whole mystery right now. Just one word, yes or no. Someone. You know what? Okay, listen. I'm not saying the CIA should do this, but if the CIA was willing to go through all that trouble to frame him for a fake rape bullshit and throw him in jail, for that, could something be done to be like, hey, can we send a honey trap? Can we get a fake USAID funded front group to offer him NGO money if he just gives an answer to this question? I mean, someone's got to hold a mic in his hand. I've never even seen anyone ask him the question. Seth Rich has been dead for 8 years now. Julian, you can't tease him.
I forgot about that, but that he very directly, heavily implies that he was his source.
Did you see that documentary that G was going on about in Deadwood?
No, I was busy working and participating in the conference.
He kept trying to get everybody to stop. He was like, "Everyone stop and come watch this movie."
Yeah, he's like, he tried to have us record it. Was this illegal? But our computer, they set it up so that computers weren't allowed to record it. But yeah, he at one point was like, "Hey, this documentary's coming out. It's gonna be really good. So what do you think we just cancel the afternoon panels and stream it for everybody?" It's like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
we cannot do that. But yeah, he definitely was trying to get people to watch it, but I haven't seen it. I saw a couple.
But the timing, again, interesting. We've got Julian Assange documentaries coming out about not just Bitcoin, but about this stuff, about Seth Rich, about the DNC, about the hacks, about the psyops against Julian Assange.
I don't think it had anything to do with about Bitcoin. It was just.
Oh, maybe that was just G then.
Yeah, they talked about it at the Bitcoin conference, and they couldn't get they had the thing filmed, and they had people that were going to produce it or pay for the production, and then they backed out of it or something because of its content, and so they crowdsourced it and got a bunch of Bitcoiners to be producers or whatever. Essentially,
so Bitcoiners funded the otherwise Julian Assange documentary.
Yeah.
What was that called? If anybody in the chat knows what that's called, I don't know what it's
called. Mike. Ghost was off in the corner with G Money watching a lot of that, so he might remember what it's called.
Oh, and G Money is a producer.
That's what I just said. He paid, whoever helped fund it got credit as a producer.
So interesting, just interesting timing. Yeah. I don't know what it means. It might mean nothing, and it could be, or it could mean something, and it could be limited hangout psyops and marketing for people that were getting a lot of juice from the 2017 to 2020 era conspiracy theories that woke a lot of us up. But the white pill reading of it is, I don't dismiss those patterns. 3 is a pattern. Seth Rich, Bernie Sanders, Julian Assange, all in the news, all at the same time, for seemingly different reasons. I don't know. Maybe something to it. We'll see.
Yeah, it is interesting. But man, with that, we have a ton of rants to go through, and I think we should probably just get into that. How do you feel about it? Tomorrow, you're doing Story Hour, right? What movie you guys doing this week?
Yes. We're doing it, John.
Which one?
We're doing it.
You're doing it? Jaws, nice.
1975's Jaws, guys. We're doing Jaws. We're not going to rug you like maybe we accidentally rugged you last week. We did Independence Day last week, and Chris and I hated it.
Really?
Hated it so much. But what was so funny, I don't know, did Chris show this tweet on Saturday? The Randy Quaid tweet?
No, but I know which tweet you're talking about.
So we'll probably show this again tomorrow night. But for anybody who watched the Independence Day stream of Story Hour, Chris and I did not confer before that stream. And I think each of us thought we were going to accidentally ruin the show by hating the movie with post-awakening eyes. But both of us had the same reaction of saying that it was some of the most nightmarish communist or globalist propaganda and anti-American propaganda that you could imagine. And, we had to be honest and talk about it. The chat was good about it and everything. But Randy Quaid, Chris sent this to us a couple days ago. Randy Quaid on July 5th tweets the following. We made the film Independence Day patriotic by divine intervention because the producer is a woke Hillary Clinton fundraiser who is not patriotic at all. He thought he was making fun of America's spirit. Boy, does he regret casting me. Up yours, Roland. He's referring to Roland Emmerich, the director of Independence Day. What is so fascinating about that, which, that's amazing when Chris sent that over, is Randy Quaid is obviously the American, pro-America, rah-rah conspiracy theorist of the movie who ends up, kamikazeing himself and kind of winning the day. But Chris and I, our thesis in that story hour episode was essentially this was a piece of demoralization propaganda against the American spirit, not for the American spirit. And, you could argue about whether or not it worked. Then you've got Randy Quaid a couple days after the episode saying, as an actor in the movie, that the director's intent was to do that.
That's crazy.
And I think Randy makes I don't know if we quite made this point on our show, but I think Randy is right that it didn't work. Because when you say Independence Day, the movie, to most people in this audience, their thoughts without revisiting it are patriotic. But the intention of that movie is a demoralization and a humiliation ritual on American patriotism. So pretty based.
Yeah, I love the movie. I understand why you guys hate it. But classic
It's
movie.
fun to watch. It's just, it makes you feel gross when you're like, when the famous speech says, this is no longer an American holiday.
Yeah.
This is our world's independence. It's a globalist, like, America's gone.
Wait till you watch part 2, because then it's like the globalist New World Order defending the world against it. It's ridiculous. Still fun to watch, though. Are you guys going to come on and say you hate Jaws too?
No. So that's my whole point there was that we're not. Well, I don't know if Chris did. Chris never saw Jaws until he watched it.
He's never seen Jaws?
He's never seen Jaws.
Oh, wow. There's no way he doesn't love that movie.
I don't know. We'll see. Chris is a sly, crafty hater.
Yeah,
you know what he's going to hate.
I don't know.
He was sending me links about the USS Indianapolis today, so we'll probably get into that. But Jaws is great. I rewatched it. Yeah, I rewatched it on Monday night or Tuesday night, and it's great. The very end, the shark looks a little iffy, of course, but it's just a great movie. I think it holds up.
Anyway, and then also I'm going to be joining you on Sunday
for
the narrative.
We're going to talk about, I'm sure you are doing all your research and you're writing your thesis for Sunday night. That
not going to happen.
Was implied. We're going to talk about a hypothetical scenario of devolution still being in the offing.
Something people talk about often.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, but I think probably not as in depth as we're going to.
Yeah, like what does it look like? Why? What would it look like? What would the mechanisms be? Would we be able to figure the mechanisms out like you were able to the first time around if it was still going on? And then why? Why would it be the case? I just think it's fun to kind of play out that thought experiment rather than just doing a segment of it, on DPH. So
for sure,
because I think Ghost was posting a clip earlier. I think it was from today, but he was posting that clip of Trump. I think he was on Air Force One saying, talking about deals.
Oh yeah, always negotiating deals and stuff. That was a great clip.
Ghost had posted the tweet of, is he saying that he took a deal, or him being president in the first place was a deal?
Well, he also he said today again that he was president 3 times, and that they rigged the 2020 election. So that was a cool clip. Are you pulling up the clip?
I was going to, but then I forgot because I distracted myself.
I'll sit here and wait. No rush.
I hate when sometimes the autofill works and knows exactly what you're looking for, and then other times it's type in everything you're looking for in the exact order you're looking for it.
Right. Still waiting.
Here it is. I got it. Never doubt me.
And then you should also get the boosts up. Except mine are cached for some reason. I know there's a new one, but I can't see it.
These talks won't resume after we get through the funeral proceedings. Does this mean that talks with Iran will not resume?
I don't care. They can talk, but I think they're wasting their time. They're a bunch of lying guys. I do my whole life. That's all I do is deals. My whole life that's how I became president. I guess that's a deal too, right? but I made a lot of money. I had a lot of great success, tremendous success. Everything I did, I was successful. And I deal with these guys and I say, this is from a different school. They're liars. They're...
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Been saying for years, the Trump aside is usually where you get the signal. And his little in-between thought there, it was notable. Don't know what he means by it, but...
Maybe we'll find out.
Who did he make that deal with?
All right. Somebody sent in a suggestion for a outro clip. Can you find a better link for that, Black Hat Destroyer? And I'd happily play it. Yeah, do you want to read the boosts? I think I saw 1027 JS sent one.
JS sent over a 20 with a thanks period.
Thank you, Joe, my fellow North Dakotan.
That's it for the boost.
Awesome. We did get and I said this on a few shows, but over the weekend we got $1,000 Badlands boost from an anonymous person for the whole company, saying Happy July 4th. So whoever you are,
wow,
you know,
thank you.
I'm assuming you watch all of my shows, so I've already said thank you, but I just in case I want to say thank you again. We truly appreciate you and the sport and everybody who tested the rant feature on Rumble to make sure it was working, and worked for some people. TBD to see if it worked for everybody, but let's go through a few of these. Let me share my screen quick. All right. Snowcat Operator gifted a sub. Thank you so much, Snowcat. Good to see you, man. Fat Chance with the BTF test. Read that one earlier. Thank you again. R. Scriv, how about Brilliant Cub, Cubby Bright, not Burning Cub. Thank you so much. RT Joan left a test. Appreciate it, RT Joan. And thanks again for the cat painting. Keith O'Higgins says tickles. Hammer Guy 35. My rant doesn't work. It's busted.
I'm going to try again. Just keep on trying.
Keep trying until it works. Sal Bish, challenge accepted. Thank you so much. Tattoo Teacher. Good to see you, Tattoo Teacher. Good evening, friends. Thank you so much. Rebel Nader says, I'm okay. I'll fall for it. Thank you, Rebel Nader.
Got him. Or her.
EC was here. I interviewed with DOGE back in October. Couldn't relocate, so I turned it down. Interesting. I think I remember you telling me about that. But maybe you didn't. We should have talked in Deadwood. He made the best Stalin bread. Have you did he give you some of his Stalin bread?
Yes, actually he did.
So good.
That is excellent stuff. I don't even understand what it is, but I'll eat it.
It's so good. I think everybody should. I mean, I want him to be a sponsor with the Stalin bread. So good. I would sell that stuff.
Hand deliver it wrapped in tinfoil to each prospective customer.
Yes. I mean, probably not quite that, but if you come to a GART, maybe. But thank you. EC was here. Good to see you, man. Iowa Farm Girl in Pennsylvania says, love you, fellas. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much for that rant. Kairos 5326. Dang, my ranter is dead.
Look at these suckers. Fell right into the trap, man.
Oh, but they're not suckers. We love them. They meant to support us. You know, it's not a trap. But no, there are people. We have gotten so many people that have told us that there's some issue with processing payments. Like, so it is a real issue.
We have to test it every week. It's just, you know.
Funky Pam says rant test. Thank you so much. Hopeful Theorist. Don't say I never did nothing for you. I hit the thumbs up too. Yes, that's another thing. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Also, our YouTube was supposed to be live by today, but apparently it's 7 full days, not like 7. Because we were banned on a Wednesday, we were banned through all of this Wednesday too. It'll be back up tomorrow. Or other
Who was that? Who was it?
It was Ash.
Ghost? It was Ash.
And it was Ash and Ghost Show the Choice, where they just basically play an entire episode of the Choice and talk
the
about
whole episode of everything. Yeah, that's a Ghost thing usually.
Well, I mean, you guys do that on Story Hour too, but it was kind of our mistake too, because we should have known. But it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, we needed to keep ourselves humble over on YouTube and got a strike, but we'll be back with a vengeance. Hopeful Theorist says, don't say, I already read that one. Shelty Mom 0122 says, my turn. Thank you so much. Marguerite Carlin, God bless Badlandia. And God bless you too. Thank you for the rant. Hammer Guy 35, a rant for Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter because hers is broken. Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter, is that true? Is yours broken?
Test it out.
I may have missed that earlier. If somebody, I got a couple screenshots of people saying theirs wasn't working. So I'll let you know what Rumble says about it. But if there's anybody else, now's your opportunity to let me know that it's not working. ClearCat367, challenge met, $5 from me and $5 from Pete. Thank you, John and BB. And thank you, ClearCat and Pete. It was great seeing you in Deadwood.
I still wish fixing things and troubleshooting them was the way it was with regular Nintendo.
Take it out, blow on it, and slam it in harder.
Yep. Or sometimes you do the rapid press down and you get the different colors on the screen.
Oh, yeah, that could work.
Just keep doing that.
Plug and unplug.
Yep.
Many different tricks. But yeah, with an N64, now that I have one again, that's like my fix. I'm surprised I haven't like stabbed the game through the system sometimes, because you just like take it up, blow on it, and like wham it in. It's just the harder you wham it in, the higher your chance of fixing it.
They psyoped us into thinking that the technology was more reliable at that time because you can just like beat the shit out of those systems. But the psyop is that they came broken. Like, I have never been to somebody's house playing an NES that works correctly.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if they ever did.
Dude, the N64s, like, how old is that system?
N64 was the GOAT.
I bought a used one.
Yeah.
And it still works. Like, the hard part is finding the TV. Like, the more advanced your TV is, the lower the resolution the game is.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Somehow. It looks bad. Like, you need a shit TV to play N64.
We need to get one of those big butt TVs for the next GART.
Yeah, for sure. Kairos5326 says, for $5 in honor of Miss Bright.
Thanks.
That's all you're going to say? That's your wife.
Yeah. Well, my son did spill an entire glass of wine on her on the plane, but
she was drinking while
drinking with a toddler.
Or was the toddler drinking?
Well, I don't know. I don't have the video.
AOB22 says, doing my part. 848. Thank you, by the way. 848-18825. I hope that's not like your phone number or something. It says testy.
Social security number, maybe.
No, it's not enough numbers. It's one number short.
That's true.
Maybe it's most of the social security number. Salbish, they're going to be up all night reading these test rants. No, I would stay up all night to read test rants.
For the people.
I think, yeah. Texas Jules for $10 says, here's $5 for every year it took Chris to finally get his boomerang. Thank you, CC. If only John had met you sooner. Amen to that. But as I said in the chat earlier, had I known I was getting $5 for every year I kept that thing from Chris, it would still be in my closet and he'd probably never see it. So you're lucky. I didn't know about that wager. Snowcat operator, testing. EC was here, reads the Badlands brief every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. I was not aware of that. Where do you read it? Send me your link, EC. Maybe I was aware of that.
And the brief itself is at badlands.substack.com. Myself, Ash, and Ghost, 5 days a week. And then on Saturday morning, the Blitz airs, which is a 1 hour sprint, which is shocking for the three of us, but we do it in about an hour.
You said do, so that's funny.
We do it.
Kairos 5326 says, Snowcat operator, please give the lovely Leah a kiss and a scritch behind her ears. I'm not sure what a scritch is.
It's like a little scratch.
A little scritchy scratch?
Leah loves it. Yep.
Nice. Texas Jules gifted 5 subscriptions as well. Thank you so much. Who got shamed into not already being subscribers?
Let's shame them.
Lulu wasn't a subscriber. Queenbee wasn't a subscriber. Jill Strickland, Scarfinger, and Diane Brodeen. Thank you, Jules, for shaming the non-subscribers.
Who's in our midst, lurking around?
I'm waiting for the day that one of our stalkers gets a.
Yep, I was just thinking that.
because you know what happened over the weekend. I don't know if did I mention this on I think I mentioned it on Basis Conspiracy, or at least my show. But one of our people that's like longtime hater, fraud, liar, part of the lawsuit stuff against, part of the ops against us, bunch of accusations. He's the one who sent me threatening text messages, threatened to sue me, told me to rumble, all sorts of BS. During the Saturday stream of covering the July 4th stuff, the Trump Freedom 250 things, all of a sudden this account pops up and tries to raid the chat over to a different show. he just so happened to be live at the time, and he was watching our channel, and and accidentally typed the raid feature into the wrong chat, just kind of proving that they watch everything we do. It's so funny.
You can't quit us, you tap
Fell off
water
the wagon again. You can't quit us.
You meth-addled tap water goblin.
Anyway, Lynn Yoda says, was the Medicare fraud included in DOGE? Found a bunch of fraud in Obamacare, lots of fake enrollees. Who paid those premiums? Us, I guess. Where do those numbers get included? That's a good question. I don't know what was included in DOGE. I don't know what whose op is it anyway. You never know.
Yeah. Right.
But thank you for the $20. Keith Higgins, Trump last mentioned DOGE right when they attacked big balls in D.C. Then they started torching Teslas, and Trump pivoted from his big balls to his big ball rooms. I like that. Tamarack Flats tipped via the Rumble wallet. Thank you so much for that. Tamarack Flats, good to see you, my man. By the way, I got one of his, he gave me one of his zip-up hoodie things when we were in Deadwood, and it might be the best fitting zip-up hoodie I've ever gotten. And most of those things don't fit me well. Like, even the Badlands zip-up hoodies, they're belly shirts for me. But this thing was perfect. Love it. Anyway, I've talked about this before. I have a weird, long torso, and shirts don't fit me well.
Little calves.
No, my calves are great. Thank you. Thank you for being so obsessed with my calves. Principled Enigma says, Burning Bright, are you a content creator on Rumble?
I have a Rumble channel, but I have never once posted to it.
I've told him in the past he should start doing his own show, get some words out so he doesn't hog the mic so much on this show, but he hasn't done it yet. Principled Enigma again says, I believe President Erdogan is a functional sociopath, kind of like Bill Gates, only much more cold-hearted to calculate and keep your enemies closest. Maybe.
I think he's actually pretty based.
He might be.
He just triggered Ghost.
Uh-oh.
Enigma.
Badlands Media Fan, the creator sponsor tab kind of blocks the text box for writing a rant, or is that just me? That might be just be you, but you can also
we got to test it.
Minimize it. And Keith Higgins, that guy who set himself on fire in front of Wall Street last week was a Bernie bro. Do you think the FBI recycles the burn bags they don't use? I think the Matthew Crooks files would be in there. Maybe. Black Hat Destroyer gifted 5 subs, and oh my gosh.
Look at, oh my goodness. Build up the suspense. Let's go in order.
And 5KW was not a subscriber. Kathy Amadon, Grayson Grit 17, Yoma 63, and Tamarack Flats. But see, I can't even be too hard on them because he gifts the via Rumble wallet quite a bit, and he's a sponsor. So he's he is sponsoring us quite a bit.
What kind of game are we playing, Tamarackians?
That is an interesting one. Texas Jules says, this is for my cis whiskey girl who can't send a rat no matter how hard she's trying. Love you, girly. We love her too. And missed both of you at Deadwood.
This is rant laundering through Texas Jules.
Yeah. And then finally we got Black Hat Destroyer. Well, it's the same link, basically. Cannot get a better link. It's mainly I just don't like the shorts version of these links.
The Kobayashi Maru?
I think so.
It's not like 30. It's like a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's more so just I wanted a non-shorts version.
Yeah.
Because it shows up so weird. I don't know how to make it bigger.
That's what she said.
That is what she said. So I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube now. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. And